Hello and welcome. I've been meaning to record an episode for the past week or so, and as much as I've set the intention and desire to do so, it's a reminder that life simply flows and unfolds, and this may not meet our expectations or our intentions as well. So and I hope all of you have had a pleasant time over the holiday period and the new year. And I just want to thank you for your support and for listening. It means a great deal. And also a special thank you to Angela, who's one of my patrons, and so I greatly appreciate your support via Patreon as well. So I just want to say that. So I thought today I would do some reading from The Power of Now. I was going to do some journaling just to share how my time's been the last couple of weeks, but it might be better for me to do some reading instead, as it's been a very tough time for me personally, and maybe I'd save that for another episode. And it's strange sometimes. When I do decide to share about my mental health or about my days, I question how useful that might be for the listener. So if you do like those type of audios where I do share a little bit more about my days and whether good or bad, or perhaps that's probably not the best way, but times that are more difficult for me versus times that things are going okay, that's something I can do more of as well. So just opening up my Kindle to jump to The Power of Now. And since our last reading of this, I've read a little bit more further on, I believe. So I can perhaps pick up from where I've left off. So this section is called The Esoteric Meaning of Waiting. And this is from The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, for any new listeners. And I'm slowly just reading through this book, and if I have any interpretations or anything to add at the end or in between, I can share those comments as well. So the title of this section is The Esoteric Meaning of Waiting. In a sense, the state of presence could be compared to waiting. Jesus used the analogy of waiting in some of his parables. This is not the usual bored or restless kind of waiting that is a denial of the present, and that I spoke about already. It is not a waiting in which your attention is focused on some point in the future and the present is perceived as an undesirable obstacle that prevents you from having what you want. There is a qualitatively different kind of waiting. one that requires your total alertness. Something could happen at any moment, and if you are not absolutely awake, absolutely still, you will miss it. This is the kind of waiting Jesus talks about. In that state, all your attention is in the now. There is none left for daydreaming, thinking, remembering, anticipating. There is no tension in it, no fear, just alert presence. You are present with your whole being, with every cell of your body. In that state, the you that has a past and a future, the personality, if you like, is hardly there anymore. And yet, nothing of value is lost. You are still essentially yourself. In fact, you are more fully yourself than you ever were before, or rather, it is only now that you are truly yourself. Be like a servant waiting for the return of the master, says Jesus. The servant does not know at what hour the master is going to come, so he stays awake, alert, poised, still, lest he miss the master's arrival. In another parable, Jesus speaks of the 5 careless, unconscious women who do not have enough oil consciousness to keep their lamps burning, stay present, and so miss the bridegroom, the now, and don't get to the wedding feast, enlightenment. These 5 stand in contrast to the 5 wise women who have enough oil, enough consciousness. Even the men who wrote the Gospels did not understand the meaning of these parables, so the first misinterpretations and distortions crept in as they were written down. With subsequent erroneous interpretations, the real meaning was completely lost. These are parables not about the end of the world, but about the end of psychological time. They point to the transcendence of the egoic mind and the possibility of living in an entirely new state of consciousness. And this next section is called Beauty Arises in the Stillness of Your Presence. And it starts with a comment from one of the readers who are asking questions to Eckhart. And their comment is, what you have just described is something that I occasionally experience for brief moments when I am alone and surrounded by nature. And Eckhart replies with the answer, yes. Zen masters use the word satori to describe a flash of insight, a moment of no mind and total presence. Although satori is not a lasting transformation, be grateful when it comes, for it gives you a taste of enlightenment. You may indeed have experienced it many times without knowing what it is and realizing its importance. Presence is needed to become aware of the beauty, the majesty, the sacredness of nature. Have you ever gazed up into the infinity of space on a clear night, awestruck by the absolute stillness and inconceivable vastness of it? Have you listened, truly listened, to the sound of a mountain stream in the forest, or to the song of a blackbird at dusk on a quiet summer evening? To become aware of such things, the mind needs to be still. you have to put down for a moment your personal baggage of problems, of past and future, as well as all your knowledge. Otherwise, you will see but not see, hear but not hear. Your total presence is required. Beyond the beauty of the external forms, there is more here, something that cannot be named, something ineffable, some deep, inner, holy essence. Whenever and wherever there is beauty, this inner essence shines through somehow. It only reveals itself to you when you are present. Could it be that this nameless essence and your presence are one and the same? Would it be there without your presence? Go deeply into it. Find out for yourself. And that's the end of that section of the power of now. And in the power of now, there's almost a symbol, reminds me of a music symbol, and I think it's there to signify the reader to reflect on what's being said. As mentioned before, this book is less so about reading it cover to cover as quick as possible, but reading it in your own time and space and really experiencing what Eckhart is pointing to. So the section we've just read about waiting and about seeing true beauty, which is not using your mind, those are a couple of things that Eckhart has said to reflect upon, to go into the pointings that he's mentioned. I won't go any further with this as I'm struggling with this episode. I'm not feeling too good at the moment, so but I'm glad I was able to share this short section with you, as this will help me as well, and give me a good excuse to continue reading this. But I will set the intention of recording another episode very soon, maybe in the next few days if I feel well enough, and perhaps we can continue more into the power of now. Okay, so as always, I wish you well in this moment, and thank you for joining me today, and I will speak to you again very soon. Take care.